Hi guys. Welcome to 2020. I don't know what happened. I blinked and I lost a year somewhere. I don't know, but I did want to just kind of touch base. I know I made a video about halfway through the year in 2019 about the word humble that I had chosen and why I chose it. And I just wanted to touch base about how that went for me last year and why it was such a great word for me to choose. I started 2019 in not a great place mentally, I guess. I was feeling like pretty low with where we were in our lives and just overall just had, personal stuff happening where I was just kind of fighting with myself about what kind of mom I was, what kind of spouse I was, what kind of friend I was, those types of things. And I think once I decided to focus on being humble and focus on living my life in a more humble manner, which to me at that point meant being thankful for everything that I had, being grace filled for other people, and also recognizing that good things happen to other people and I can be happy for them without sitting there and letting that green-eyed monster come out. Friends bought a beautiful new home, and rather than sitting there going, well, that should have been me, I'm a good person, and yada yada, I was genuinely happy for them. And that's a good thing for me. I've struggled a little bit this year because I'm right now sitting at an 87-pound loss over the last 16 months, I think it is. And I really wanted to get to 90 by the new year, but my body said nope. And that's, I've learned to live with that. But I've struggled with the fact that I've received compliments. And in the past, I feel like I would have been not just boosted by those, but I could have even just gotten a little self-centered about them, maybe. I can't say for sure because I didn't allow the positive things people were saying to me to define me. I knew how hard I was working and still am working and will continue to work to make these things happen. I also knew that if I didn't do these things and I started to backslide or things like that, I would be so disappointed in myself. And that came from a place of humility as well. I didn't want to beat up on myself, in other words. So I found that just focusing on being humble and humbling myself to other people and, especially to God and things like that, that I was much more in control of how I felt and how I dealt with certain situations. And the key for one of those was I had so many irons and so many different fires and in volunteering and committees at work and things at church and all those kinds of things that my own fire was diminishing and I wasn't finding joy in anything that I was doing. And it was coming across and I could feel it. And as if you're preparing to go and do something, either a class or a committee or something like that, and you're finding yourself dreading it instead of looking forward to it, there's something not quite right there. And so what I forced myself to do was sit down and make a list of all of my obligations that were not mandatory. In other words, work, mandatory, right? As much as I wish it weren't, it's mandatory. And to me, attending church, mandatory. Although, sick, things like that, you get off the hook for those. God understands those. But there were other things. And when I looked at them, as hard as it was, I had to be humble and realize that these things could and would go on without me. And I did not have to actually have my name on every single thing in order for those things to be successful. And that's me letting go quite a bit of my control freak kind of thing, and just that, let me take over. I can do this. And being humble and stepping back and realizing that I am not always the person that is best suited for that. And I am not always, and quite often, not the correct person that needs to be involved in that. So it was an eye-opener. I stepped back from those things. I found it really difficult, but I did it. And about a week later, I was like looking at my schedule and I was like, oh, wow. Okay. That's a good feeling, even though I hate when I think people are mad at me or they don't like me for whatever reason because I walked away. It's something I've had to learn to deal with. And it's something that I had to, in order to keep my own fire going and be passionate about the things that I am still involved in, I had to do it. I had to. And it just, it's the way it was. A year ago, I would have forced myself through it. I would have just, gone to the point of exhaustion with these things, and I don't even know how that would have ended. So I think that this past year has taught me to be so genuinely happy for other people rather than being jealous. It's taught me to be thankful for the situation that I am in and the life that I am blessed with, rather than always wanting something more. It's taught me to appreciate even little things that are happening that I might not have before. And it's made me just really embrace those little things that I would have taken for granted before. So it's going forward, I do have a word for 2020. This was a hard fought word, and I'll make another video about that. I'm not trying to clickbait, I promise. I just want to gather thoughts about that a little bit more. And it's, something that kind of stuck out to me. So just like Humble did, 18 months ago, when we found ourselves in such a low place, and coming out of that and realizing that being humble, finding my humility, and those kinds of things needed to happen. And they did. It's a learning process. I'm going to continue to do it. I'm going to continue to check myself and make sure that I am remaining in that mindset, that I am, finding joy in the things that I'm doing, but also being happy for other people. And that to me is where it's really come into place. So I will end there. I just want to remind you guys, please, to always be kind to one another, especially entering a new decade. Oh my goodness gracious. And just, I will see you next time, and bye.